Good morning, Zio here. And like I said, last week we took a quick look at the rise of Skywalker and the Star Wars saga and what was going on right before it released to the general public. And at the time, the critics were kind of on the mixed side. So a lot has happened. The weekend went through and we're partway through the other week now. And here we go. This is the movie trailer, one of the movie trailers anyway. I can't show too much because I'm sure it's going to get claimed somehow, some way. So we're going to stop that. And we're going to do this. But anyway, so before we get started, I saw this and was like, like seriously, you can't facepalm hard enough for these people. Brianna Wu. If you don't know who Brianna Wu is, for some odd known reason, it's possible you don't know who she is. She inserted herself into the thing known as Gamergate years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. Whenever it was the Gamergate was going on, I remember, being part of it from a spectator side, but never actually getting to do anything because I didn't have this going at the time. But yeah. So Brianna Wu inserted her into the Gamergate thing and was like, they're after me, they're running me out of my house and all this other stuff when nobody was doing no such thing. Anyway, so she's gonna interject herself into this. According to the New York Times, over half the online anger directed at The Last Jedi came from Russian sock puppets accounts. Their mission is to divide us. Movies, games, politics, doesn't matter. And we are easy targets. And I don't know where to start. That is the most BS thing I have ever heard. Russia hates us so much that they are going to interject themselves into not only our politics, but our... Oh god, the Russian narrative is stupid. Regardless of whether you hate the president or love the president, I don't really care which way or the other. You could have been a Bernie supporter, you could have been a Hillary supporter. If you're a Hillary supporter, I honestly don't know what to tell you. You could be a Trump supporter, you could be whoever. And to be totally honest, in my opinion, if Hillary didn't steal the election from Bernie, yes, that's right, Hillary did steal that. They stole that from Bernie. Bernie probably would have been our president right about now. Just saying. People, Bernie would have had that more than likely because he had the votes from all sorts of people from all sorts of sides. It wasn't until they gave it to Hillary that the Democrats completely lost everything. But this is not a political channel. We're not going to sit here and debate the politics of the last election. Although the whole Russia thing has been beaten to the ground so much that it came up as nothing. And, this idea of other countries interfering with our elections, it does happen. I'm not going to sit there and say it doesn't happen. It does. But on the grand scale that they want us to believe on is ridiculous. It's not even close to that. So to sit there and think that half of the online hate directed at The Last Jedi came from Russian sock puppet accounts is ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. I don't even know how hard I need to scream that, but it isn't. And of course the study, by the way, that they came up with half, if I remember correctly, because I don't have it on hand right now and I can't seem to find it now, but when I did look at it, it was a total of like 15 or 10 accounts out of 1,000-ish, 900 and something, that were apparently Russian trolls. That's not half, honey. I'm sorry. I don't know what juice you want to drink. That is never half. That's not going to be half. It's not even close to half. It's not even 1%. Not even 1% at that point. But anyway, I do digress. We're talking about the rise of Skywalker. And as a result, I did see this thing going towards the rise of Skywalker, by the way, too. They were talking about how it's not doing so hot, apparently, because of Russian trolls. But we are here to talk about this, the rise of Skywalker. We're back here at the Metacritic scores. Or, I'm sorry, this is the Rotten Tomatoes scores. And you know what? Again, I keep forgetting to roll my intro. So let's just get into it, shall we? Anyway, now that the intro is out of the way, welcome. I am Zio, and if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel right now, where we talk about nerd news and occasionally play video games. Right now, we are playing this game right here. This is Mega Man Legends 2 for the PlayStation. Ooh, yes, it is an old game. Yep, it's analog control compatible, which I didn't know. I should set up that, I guess, in the emulator. But yeah, so we're playing that right now. So if you want to go ahead and take a look at that, there is a playlist for it already set up. New episodes will go into that as we go and dive ourselves through that. And yeah, back to Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker. Apparently, still, the critic score is mixed and is now slightly lower, with a total count of 418, which is about comparable to the other Star Wars movies, who had a critic review count in the 400s. So I don't see the rotten meter really moving one way or the other on Rotten Tomatoes for The Rise of Skywalker. It is a mixed movie on the critic side. If you loved The Last Jedi, which I don't understand why you would, but if you did love that Rian Johnson subversive mess of a movie, then you are going to hate The Rise of Skywalker. That seems to be the consensus across the nation so far. But yeah, if you did hate The Last Jedi or whatever, you know, The Rise of Skywalker apparently is not a movie for you. According to the consensus as of right now, there are issues with, you know, The Rise of Skywalker. It seems to be practically should have been 2 movies, but it's 1 movie. Honestly, I think maybe they should have pushed for a part 1 and a part 2 just as a result, because, you know, it is really, it seems to be cut in a way that, you know, it's going from boom, 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 really quickly, and in a way to essentially cut The Last Jedi out as if it didn't have a thing. It does a lot to try and fix the mess that Rian Johnson did leave the trilogy in. Honestly, I think JJ should have done all 3 movies. They should not have brought in Rian Johnson. They should have talked him into doing all 3 of them, and it probably would have been a much more coherent, you know, thing instead of the mess that it currently is. But you know, I've been looking and watching things on both sides of this debate, from the fandom menace to the other people's, you know, who do like this, and I have gone personally myself, you know, throughout the weekend, went from I'm dreading this movie to I think I'm going to give it a chance to I do really want to go ahead and see this movie now. Even if it does this sort of video game chop up type deal, I'm fine with that. I guess mostly for the fact that I'm a gamer, so I'm used to doing things like that to begin with through video games. So a movie doing that isn't too hard for me, myself, to probably keep up with, but the general audience, on the other hand, might have issues with that, of course. And I'd say anyone who is a avid gamer, who has played games that, you know, run the movie type formula, you know, is probably pretty used to it as well. And if you're playing something like, you know, Star Wars The Old Republic right now, which is the MMO, which I currently have been dabbling back into, you know, you do get that feeling. If you were to take the cutscenes themselves out, and you know, remove the whole traveling from, you know, going down to Hoth or whatever to do whatever it is, get those cutscenes in, and then take out the travel back to your ship to get back to the intercom or whatnot to have your meeting with your crewmates and stuff like that, and cut all that out, you know, it would run in similar fashion with this movie, where you lose all that extra running around that took you 10 to 20 minutes or whatnot to do just to get back to your ship. You know, and it's not that big of a deal for somebody like myself, of course. And you know, but right now the audience score itself is sitting at 86%. And I did see somebody who was going around who apparently took the time to go through all the audience's scores back when it was about 24,000. Now it's sitting at a 54,000. where, you know, the glowing reviews were coming from a bunch of 5 stars that didn't really have any review or anything, or they had the exact same copy paste review and all this other stuff. And they supposedly went through and they did show it. They showed their work and stuff, where it would seem half of the reviews at that point in time seemed to be, you know, just a copy paste bought style of review from, say, maybe Disney or whatever, to make this score a lot higher than it normally was, as a result. Which, you know, it's really bad when things like that. But we're now at 54,000 and we're still holding at an 86. I've seen it go up a little to, like, I think maybe 88, down to 85, 84, and then come back to 86. And that's where it seems to be sitting at. So, you know, you can believe whatever it is you want to believe on this. This movie is trash. This movie is great. This movie is mediocre. That's totally up to you. Of course, over on the Metacritic side, I can bring it up. It is sitting at a nice 54, which, you know, pretty much is about what it is over here on Rotten Tomatoes. And you can come down here. The user score is primarily a 5.0 out of 10, and it's got a fair amount of 1,424 negatives, 1,401 positives. So this is a pretty much a mixed score, which is a lot better than what I was expecting, because, you know, with The Last Jedi and how that went, I was expecting a lot worse. So the fact that this movie really does, you know, seem to do a little bit better than what I was expecting, which is good, because, you know, that's a good thing. That's a good sign, to be totally honest. But let's just look at some of these real quick. This movie was really surprising. I didn't like The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and Han Solo, so I wasn't expecting so much from the last one. But Rise of Skywalker is a very good movie, much better than was expecting. The action scenes were great, lightsabers were awesome, and the characters are way more likable in this movie than previous ones. And that seems to be something that they finally actually did, was sort of expand on the characters a little bit. They took the core characters, you know, Finn, Rey, and Poe, and put them together and said, look, you people are going to go do things together now, which is how it probably should have been, instead of everybody, you know, completely gone and being missing most of the time. So, you know, it's a good thing that they did go ahead and bring them in and cut characters who were not really necessary to the story, who had no business really being there, who didn't add any value at all. I mean, not really cut them. They're there. They're just not the primary focus at all. So, you know, that's a good thing. We can come down here and find 4 here. OMG. I need to say I had a very bad time at the cinema. I liked The Force Awakens. I really liked The Last Jedi. This movie is just a real big mess. I know fans probably love it. They don't need a good movie. They just want to see scenes exactly as they expect them to be, with their favorite characters doing things exactly as they... You see, this is one of the people who love The Last Jedi, but really, really hates this movie for whatever reason. Probably because it didn't play to, you know, whatever PC thingies that The Last Jedi was doing at the time and playing to it. If you're a diehard fan, maybe you don't need this. Okay, anyway, so this is a long one. I know it was hard to make a third movie after The Last Jedi. It was great as a standalone, but not as part of a trilogy, unfortunately. But it wasn't impossible, and The Rise of Skywalker is clearly not the movie, which I wanted to see. The pace is quick, the scenes with a bit of any impact are coldly calculated, that there is no place for surprise, and if there are any, they are just funny, just because of how ridiculous they feel after we've gone into the whole trilogy. The intrigued, easy, and full of accidents. The return as well known as and beloved love-to-hate characters, cheap and unsatisfying. It's not a movie, it's a collection of short scenes connected by a weak and barely holding plot. I was really sad in the theater. I really hoped for something just good. Instead, I got this. You know what? This is way too long. Forget that. Okay. Anyway, point is, this person really doesn't like it. For me, this is a really, really bad movie with zero stakes. You know how it's going to end from the start. But also with tons of fan service. You will love it if you see this Oh, it's him. Oh, it's this. Oh, I want this badly. Oh, attitude. But if you're expecting a good movie, just as I experienced, you will be completely greatly disappointed, just as I was. Yeah, which is another thing. Apparently, the critics and stuff who really hate this movie really hate fan service, because fan service is apparently bad for some reason. I don't understand that mentality. But anyway, it seems JJ did have a plan for 3 movies. However, RJ decided to do his own thing. Probably is this is a movie trilogy, and you can't just go Maverick in the middle because you don't like the OT. 3 points for JJ. The movie itself is boring, stupid, despite it trying to explain every blank RJ put into his episode 8. Disaster. What is it else to say? Facepalm during the whole movie. Another insult to the saga. Hopefully the last one forget. Anyway. So, you know, when it does come to the Rise of Skywalkers, a lot of things in it I feel like can be explained from extra material. It does feel like a lot of extra material was used in this movie as well. Like, for instance, I talked about force healing. You know, that is a thing out there in the universe. Never been seen before in the actual movies, but it's available in other things. So, yeah. But, yeah, that's about where we are. It seems to be somewhat on the mixed scale. If you listen to, say, the Phantom Menace side, it's hated. If you see the general audiences who just love, you know, these movies, who didn't like The Last Jedi, they seem to be okay with this movie. It does have its issues. It apparently does feel like you're playing a video game, which of course doesn't bother me that much because, like I said, I'm a gamer and I'm used to doing that kind of thing. Getting my cutscenes and stuff after doing these things, and you know, you take it and cut it out, cut all the other stuff, it would probably look a lot like this movie. You know, but with the mess that The Last Jedi was, it was probably really hard to even make this movie, let alone make something that was going to be good. We'll go ahead and I guess we'll leave it right there. We'll go ahead and we'll take a look at this again in another week or so after we've had our second weekend and see how that went. I heard the Christmas, you know, totals apparently were pretty decent. I haven't actually looked at it. I just heard somebody talking about it. Well, didn't heard. I saw as I was scrolling through a feed somebody talking about it. So I'll have to actually go and take a look at that myself and see if that's any truth to that or not. But let me know what you think about this all down in the comments below, and I will talk to you later. See ya.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment, smash that like button, and always subscribe for more. And of course, there are other videos floating around somewhere on the screen, so click one of those and see if you can find something that suits your fancy. Till then, I'll see you later. Bye.